Doing great.
Excellent. I'm glad somebody responded.
We had our second School of Medicine staff summit yesterday, and it went beautifully and was inspiring.
That's what I love to hear. I love it.
even almost enough emphasis on staff. Almost.
Yay.
And I have to say, there's a thank you on its way, but Katie and Shayna and God, I can't even remember the name off the top of my head of the third person. I'm going to send you the slide I made that was the prize for the Carolina Outdoor Education Center.
Yay.
They donated a session for up to 15 people. And a person who was very thrilled to win that prize won that prize.
We always love going out to the Outdoor Education Center and doing some fantastic team building. So I'm glad to pass that on to somebody in school medicine. But
I also told Karina that you all employee forum leaders and, staff contributed to having your images on that slide. So thank you.
No problem. We miss Carlina around here.
You're famous. You're famous.
Awesome. Well, that's great to hear. Thanks everybody for being with us this morning for October. Crazy that it's October already. The October meeting of the Employee Forum. Welcome. We're just going to kick things right off. We've got the Chancellor's Chief of Staff, Christi Hurt, with us this morning for our roundtable. Welcome, Christi. Thanks for being with us this morning.
Hey, good morning, everybody. It's nice to see everybody. And Elizabeth thought there's never enough coffee in the universe. I'm sitting here with my feels like a 4-gallon mug. So let's see how we do this morning. I hope everybody is enjoying October. It is one of my favorite months of the year, and I hope you are enjoying it so far. So to get things started, I just want to talk about sort of where we are in the semester. It is no surprise to any of you that the past 2 months have been filled with some really incredible moments, but also, of course, some difficult challenges. I'm going to start with the incredible. I think you all probably saw our U.S. News and World Report rankings were fantastic this year. We're very proud of where we are. We moved us up to be the number 4 public university in the nation. And we're really grateful for all the work that each of you puts in every day to make these rankings possible. We know rankings are only part of the story, but it's certainly a good part of our story to tell. And we know a lot of that climb is due to the hard work of our staff. So thank you to all of you. The Chancellor, if you haven't seen it already, had a chance to write an op-ed in the News and Observer and really focused on how these gains are fueled by a commitment that the university made a long time ago. We strive to make the dream of an excellent college education possible. And there's so much that goes into that. And I think that all of our departments really contribute in multiple ways to that commitment. And we're really proud that we remain the number 1 public school for the best value in the country. I think that's my favorite part of the ranking system, is that we maintain that number 1 spot. So part of that, of course, is fueled, I'm sure, by our announcement last summer to cover tuition for families that are making less than $80,000. And that, of course, reaffirms our goal and our sort of stretch goal of always being just passionately public. Our other rankings are great, and I will certainly miss some of the wonderful schools represented here, but we are number 4 in nursing, number 8 for undergraduate business, number 12 for entrepreneurship, 9 for best colleges for veterans, and that, very cool, is up 3 places from last year. So we just continue to do really great work in all of our schools, so thank you. Second, we are grateful to the General Assembly for their continued support in our budget, our state budget that we finally have for higher education. This budget invests in our infrastructure. It provides new opportunities for our students to learn and conduct research, and it includes funds for raises, which I know everybody's really excited about, and retention for our faculty and our amazing staff. It also includes significant and much needed funding to expand our computer science programs to include applications in data science for our new School of Data Science and Society. And that commitment's just phenomenal. I think we're at $7.5 million recurring to really fuel the work of that school so we continue to build it out and staff it appropriately, which I know has been a concern and an interest of this body. This was, of course, our top budget priority as we worked alongside the UNC System Office and our respective legislative liaisons to secure this critical funding. And if you haven't already, I really encourage you to think about bringing Amy McConkey, our state liaison, and potentially Chris McClure to one of these meetings, our public affairs chief over here in the Chancellor's office. They just did amazing work this session, keeping us coordinated and tied to what was happening in Raleigh. And I just can't thank them enough for all the work that they've put into this. So fuel for future thinking. We also received significant funding for the North Carolina Collaboratory and projects related to things like water safety, next generation energy, opioid remediation, artificial intelligence, and digital engineering. So that's very cool. The budget includes initial funding to support our efforts to launch the School of Civic Life and Leadership And we're just grateful for the work of our legislative team to accomplish so many of our priorities. Always more work to do, miles to go before we sleep, but really exciting things happening there. And then third, we're looking forward to next week's celebration of University Day on October 12th at 11 a.m. in Memorial Hall. I encourage you all to attend, bring your colleagues and your friends. It's going to be a really great day. We're changing the format a little bit this year, which I think will be exciting. So come and see. But as you know, this is an important moment in the life of our university where we celebrate our founding and we recommit to our mission of serving our great state. The format changes include a panel. So we're going to hear a panel discussion with 3 alumni who are serving across our state in government, in public schools, and in the private sector. And then we're, of course, also going to be celebrating our fantastic distinguished alumni winners. And this year, that's James Clark, Tom Darden, Amy Greason, Jenny Hahn, and Adolph Reed. Beth Morocco will present the Edward Kidder Graham Award to David Weber, and our own Katie Musgrove will present the Rebecca Clark Award to Robin Lee. So I hope to see all of you there. We're really looking forward to filling some of these great seats. And as an additional sort of bonus prize, we're going to have some cookies and lemonade, I think, outside after the event, always a fan favorite. And then we're going to bring food trucks out there. So you'll have a chance to mix and mingle with your colleagues and friends and actually get a bite to eat on what hopefully is a glorious day outside. And then fourth, we held the official ribbon cutting of the Innovate Carolina Junction last week at the Board of Trustees meeting. This is really cool. We're very excited for the opportunities the space provides for our university. It's going to be a startup accelerator, a co-working space, and a home for entrepreneurs, startups, and small businesses. I had the pleasure of being there yesterday for a meeting. It is really interesting, dynamic space, has a coffee shop in it, and it's really got the best views, I think, of Orange County on the 5th floor that I've ever seen. It is dynamic space, phone booths, workstations, meeting spaces. So I encourage you all to check it out. The Chancellor sent a message out about that to campus. And as he said there, we want our faculty with their innovative research to partner with entrepreneurs and to bring their ideas quickly to market. So this is all about amplifying impact of the things that we're discovering in the research space and how we can bring them to fruition for use out in the regular world. All right, so that's the exciting work that's happening. At the same time, of course, this fall, we've been met with significant challenges. The shooting of Dr. Yen was absolutely devastating for our community, and I know this has touched every one of us on this campus in really deep and profound ways. Then, of course, we had the second lockdown 16 days later, which I know was also traumatizing and difficult for folks across our campus. The Chancellor has been saying this, so I'm going to steal his line. We planned for days like this, but we hope we never have to act on those plans, but we did. We followed our national best practices, and we're really proud of the way our police, our emergency teams, and our community responded. We are, of course, especially grateful to our entire emergency preparedness team, which includes Vice Chancellor George Battle, Police Chief Brian James, Associate Vice Chancellor Derek Kemp, and Emergency Management Director Daryl Jeter. No system's perfect, and we're conducting a review of our emergency operations to see what can be learned from these 2 incidents. As you are probably all familiar, it's best practice, of course, to do sort of a hot wash or after action review once you have an incident and deploy your emergency systems on campus. And so we want to make sure that we do that review here on campus and learn what we can to improve our responses over time. Very typical and normal part of our practices, but we're eager to learn. Right now, I think our lessons are falling into 3 particularly important buckets. One, of course, is how do we improve our initial actions we take in situations that are serious and grave? So what's our initial response look like? The second, of course, is based already on feedback we are hearing from folks, which is what can we do to better secure our physical spaces? So a lot of things we were hearing initially were around doors and challenges learning how to lock those. And we're going to take a look at that and are taking a look at that. And then, of course, the third bucket is getting to root causes. So what are the causes that lead to something like this happening in the first place? And how can we address those root causes in our community? So we're taking a look at all of that. And I hope you all took a look at the portal and sent us some feedback so we can gather all that information. And put that into our review so we can hear first-person reports of what worked and what didn't for all of you across campus. And I'm happy to hear any feedback today about that or take any other questions on this or any other matters that you have. So those are my remarks for the morning, and I'm happy to go where you want to go.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Christi. Questions? I guess I'll start us off. I know Chief James gave an update at the Board of Trustees recently about security improvements and potentially license plate license plate reader installations and security camera improvements, et cetera, that are planning to take place? Do you have any kind of feedback or kind of update on where that stands?
A lot of the camera work happened this summer in the residence halls, so I'll say that that part of the work was accomplished. But I think what we're doing right now in the review is making sure we're identifying other places where we could use cameras. And for those of you who were watching a little bit of the news this week on campus, the cameras really came into play when we had the groping incident in McClinton Residence Hall. And so that was our first use of the cameras, I think, as far as I understand, in terms of chasing down an event. And they were really helpful. So we want to know where we're looking right now, where else cameras can go. And then the license plate readers, I believe, are going to be coming online this year as well.
Excellent. Other questions from the group?
Elizabeth, what was I talking about when you asked about the link to a page about this new site? What was that in reference
I'm
to?
sorry, I totally blanked out on the research-oriented view of Orange County, the name of it. Sorry.
Innovate Hub.
Innovation. Yeah, the innovation hub.
Thank you. Sorry, I can look it up on my own. Thanks.
Used to be the Bank of America and CMB building, that whole thing on
CVS
yeah.
building? Was it the CVS?
CVS building. Yeah, if
Okay,
you've been
yeah.
here long enough, you can kind of go through the whole drill.
NCNB, boy, we are showing how long we've lived here.
I thought you might get that one. That was for you.
Thank you.
Excellent. Any other questions? Jacob.
Hi, good morning. First off, my apologies for being late. It's life, unfortunately, these days. I know that my unit has been requesting camera upgrades for a very long time. And sorry, just to give you a little bit more background, I'm the facility manager for the Carolina Union. We've utilized cameras rather significantly recently.
I imagine.
And I guess my question, and I've heard some stories about that upgrades are on the way. I guess I'm concerned that that now that there's a greater desire campus-wide for improvements, that's going to significantly create an increased demand, which is going to, until we have like the staff to meet that demand, it's also going to get a little bit backlogged. I'm just curious what kind of steps are being taken and how priorities are being chosen.
Yeah, that's a great question for probably George Battle and the chief.
Sure.
And I can push this question along to them so we can get you a good answer. And I would also encourage you, I'm sure you're already asking this up your own sort of chain of command and student affairs to make sure that Amy Johnson has the information about prioritizing the union. I'll have to get back to you on the details on it, but it seems like that's a really great place to start in those big common areas where lots of students mingle and are open to the public. So I wish I had more details for you. I'll get them for you and I'll pass along your interest.
I'm also aware that while it is relatively recent, we also still move at the speed of government. So I'm aware of the restraints with which we're operating under. So thank you.
Absolutely.
There's a question in the chat. Can you talk a little bit about the new security camera policy? Is there a policy around security cameras?
What I can tell you, and again, you might have to follow up with our public safety friends, is that the cameras are not monitored in real time. And so it's not like we have created a surveillance situation with cameras across the walls and we're monitoring people's active movements. This is footage that can be pulled when there's an emergency. So cameras I know in the residence halls, for example, are only at entrances and exits. And I imagine that's how a lot of the building spaces will be. Oh, thank you, Matthew, coming in clutch. So
Policy expert here.
thank you very much. So we're really focusing on making sure we can see who's coming and going in buildings if we need to pull it, but it's not being monitored in real time. And Matthew has come in with the save.
Awesome. Any other questions? Okay, there's one more in the chat. This was a long one. Michael, do you want to unmute yourself and ask, or would you like me to ask for you?
I'm happy to ask.
Okay.
So if there are going to be more cameras, which obviously we are living through circumstances in which that there are arguments to be made for that, then it is also going to be important that there be good inventory management and awareness of those cameras. I am an ITS, and I can tell you that the conventional wisdom around the existing cameras for years has been, well, and we don't maintain the cameras, we don't manage the cameras, but we do maintain a lot of by which I mean ITS in general, we maintain a lot of the infrastructure around those cameras, such as network segments where they reside. And the conventional wisdom for years has been nobody knows how many cameras there are or where they are. So if the solution to things is going to be more cameras, then part of that solution needs to be making sure that there are people who know where the cameras are, what they're doing, and how many there are, and can account for that.
So
Because
this
the
sounds like,
assumption, has
Mhm.
always been that nobody actually knows that.
So I can't test that assumption, but my understanding is that when they were doing the camera reviews last year and talking about the residence halls, that they did have more of a public safety assessment of where those cameras are. I think it might be good to bring George Battle or Derek Kemp to one of these meetings, since there's such an interest in cameras and how they've done the analysis around that. Again, I'll flag them that this is an important conversation, especially with Jacob's question, but I do believe that they do know where all the cameras are, because they're aware of where they need to pull footage from when there's an incident, but I'll double check that.
Thank you.
Absolutely. It's a good question.
Excellent. Any other thoughts or questions for Christi?
About anything. I mean, cameras sound like they've hit a pulse point that we're happy to follow up on, but are there other questions? I hope you all did take an opportunity to fill out the feedback portal when we collected it. I know Katie advocated to extend it a little bit, so I'm hoping that that was something you all had a chance to participate in.
I know I did.
Good. Thank you. That matters.
Arlene says, are there any motion sensitive to limit the amount of information to be reviewed? That's a great question.
Oh, again, you're going to have to get the camera experts in here. You're really tapping out the extent of my camera knowledge. So I just don't know, but
Yeah,
I'll
okay.
pass that along.
We had planned to potentially invite Chief James around this topic, given his recent update at BOT. So sounds like a great follow-up invite for the next meeting. Excellent. Unless there's any other questions. Thanks as always, Christi, and we hope to see you not just at University Day, but at Employee Appreciation Day, which is coming up on October 20th.
Absolutely.
Stealing some of Becci's thunder, but we always love to see administrators out at that event too. So come party and celebrate with the staff.
Oh, I will be there. I love Employee Appreciation Day. It's a great one on campus. So y'all enjoy. Thank you so much for inviting me, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks, Christi.
You bet.
All right, folks. Without further ado, we come to our favorite part of the meeting, which is our HR updates with our fantastic HR team. Becci, I'm going to let you take it away.
Wow, that's quite the invite. Favorite part. I've risen in the ranks. Is that because I'm here to talk about the fact that y'all are going to
We get raises.
Is that why I'm finally the favorite child? Come on, let's be honest. Hello, everybody. It's great to join you. Happy October. Can you believe it? We've made it already. Indeed, I am here with some good news. We have a budget, and as many of you know, unless you haven't been paying attention, we are getting the biggest salary adjustments for state employees since I think it's 2007. It is a 4% increase in year one and a 3% increase in year two. We have gotten preliminary guidance from the UNC system, and we are beginning our efforts, and that includes our team in finance in putting those, assembling the documentation to get those put together, and working behind the scenes on the system to get them through payroll. Our intention right now is for you to see those raises in your checks at the end of October. For EHRA employees, it would be October 31st. And for SHRA employees, it would be November 3rd. Both of those fall within the same week. The raises will be retroactive to July. So if you're planning any additional shopping, you can plan accordingly. The 31st and the 3rd, you should see those in your paychecks. All of that is contingent on receiving the transfer of funds and a handful of other things, but by all accounts, things are looking good, and we do anticipate being able to meet those deadlines. If we're not meeting those deadlines, you'll hear it first from me, and it'll be on account of something happening outside of the university. But again, everything we're hearing right now seems to be looking favorable for us getting that taken care of at the end of the month. Other updates from the budget, many of you probably have already read. There were some pretty good resources coming back to the university in R&R funds, in some support for the School for Data Science, in support for the School for Civic Life and Leadership, and a handful of other things. Certainly you all have heard from the state relations folks and others, so I won't go too far down the road on that. as we initiate another start of the year, Katie's right, she stole a little bit of my thunder, but we do have an Employee Appreciation Day coming up on the 20th of October. I'm filming my video for it today, so you'll get a little preview of the Employee Appreciation gift for the year, and we hope to see you all out there. We will have a live band, the engagement fair, Pelican Ice is making a return trip, and a lot of meals for both third shift and morning and lunchtime meals, and a day of good fun. And I hope you'll all join me out at the pit and around the Union to celebrate that day. It's just one day we take out to celebrate all of you. But certainly I know I speak on behalf of us, all of us in the Division of HR and EOC, and collectively for our leadership team. We appreciate all of you as employees of the university all the year long. But on this day, you get a little special extra treatment. So the questions in the chat related to the bonus, the raise is an addition to your base. That's correct. 3%, 4% will be added this time around, and then the 3% is based off of that new number. So it is a build on, and worry about higher taxes coming out of our check with the raisins given. The taxes, you're taxed on your new salary, so you'll get a bigger, the implication in October will be a little bit bigger, but it'll be at the same tax rate. You won't see a bigger, a longer standing bump. It'll just be at the same rate. So if you're doing the math and saying I'm getting 4% and I should get an extra $4,000 over the course of the last several months, it's going to be taxed at the same rate you would be in any other paycheck. So if you have more questions on that, though, there are people that are far smarter than I that can tell you more about that. And it's probably worth talking to your payroll coordinator. I mentioned employee appreciation. I know Joe has been here already, but just a reminder, open enrollment opens in a few days. You'll want to make sure that you do your tobacco attestation. And if you want something other than the 70-30 plan, you'll want to get in there right away and make the adjustments. He's here. I just saw his face pop up. I think he's prepared to answer questions on that as well. If you haven't seen the notices, the CCCS campaign, Carolina Cares, Carolina Shares, has begun on campus. This is our once-a-year opportunity to give in support of local and statewide organizations in support of our greatest causes, or the causes that mean the most to us. Chapel Hill is regularly one of the state's leaders in this campaign. And we're off to a great start, and we certainly encourage you to participate if you've not already done so. Everything is online, and the contributions are removed from your paycheck. So it's about as easy as it can be made. And if as you're giving to a, gosh, I'm really struggling with my words this morning, but if you're giving to an organization that will give you tax benefit, they'll send you the letters directly. Rebecca asked, can we see how much we've given in the past? It will tell you when you log into the system. It'll tell you what you gave last year and whether you want to match that or increase it. So if you're just looking at last year, that's the best bet. If you're looking at behind the numbers or numbers further back, I think you'll have to check in. And I can ask Shireen. Shireen Jenkins is our campaign coordinator. She's got liaisons in many of your units, but I can check in with Shireen if you're looking for numbers further back than last year. But the short answer is if you log in, you'll be able to have all of it. Update on a reclassification bump in pay for some staff roles. There's not reclassification happening, but we are looking at ranges for SHRA and EHRA. Those ranges for SHRA roles are being looked at by the Office of State Human Resources at their December meeting. We hope after that we will have new ranges that we can put in play. We did not receive a legislative, a labor market adjustment reserve fund to support those. But once we have new ranges, we can certainly look at where folks are in the ranges, and then as funds become available, we will make adjustments. But we weren't anticipating bump in pay for some staff roles out of the budget. The exception to that is there were some special funds designated for nursing faculty. We've not yet received the guidance associated with that bump, and it's really specific to a limited number of faculty in nursing schools. So that is the only adjustment there. We hope to have a little bit more information on the ranges probably in a couple of months at this point in time. They're preparing all of the documents for OSHR, and we're going to wait on their calendar, but they have it scheduled as a formal agenda item in December. I think that concludes my updates, though I see Keith's got a question. I'm happy to take that. Katie, I'm sorry, I'm calling on him as opposed to letting you do that, but.
No, it's all good. Good morning.
Good
How are you,
morning.
friend? I think the link is actually answering my question in the text, because Rebecca had the same question about the percentage increases, and Link said that is correct. So anyone who's not reading the chat, basically, so you get 4% on your current salary right now.
Yep.
And then, so a person making $50,000 would be bumped up to 52. And so the 3% goes on top of the 52 and not back to the original 50.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, because they're in each year.
Okay.
It's just that this
normally
year's
do it?
is going back to July.
Okay. Is that how they normally do it?
Yep.
Okay. Okay.
It's just that I say usually, but it's not fair to say usually because nothing's usual anymore. But when a budget is passed in a more normal timeline, you see a payment shortly after July, and then you see another payment the following shortly after July. It's that this year we're so far along that we're going to see an October payment, and then it won't be that much longer until you see another payment.
Arguably, that's becoming the usual, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yes.
Any other questions for Becci?
Oh, somebody asks whether now that the budget is in, will the pause for certain HR actions be lifted soon? Yes, Link noted that we are anticipating a lifting of the pause. We're just waiting on the final memo from OSBM. And so just so you all understand the mechanics behind this, so the budget is certified and ratified, and then there's a whole bunch of things in the budget that require an expenditure of money. And OSBM goes through and identifies where, at least this is the way I understand it. This is layman's understanding. Let me be clear. This is not somebody who does this work for a living. They go through and identify all the routing and the where the money is appropriated in all of those cases. And once that happens and there is a clarification, then they finish their work and we get the lift. So we expect it here shortly. Yeah. The Links answered the question about the July 1. Is there a provision for ARP in this budget? There is not. We have the across the board legislative increase. There is not a provision for ARP. We are encouraged to continue to leverage bonus options as we move forward, but there were no additional funds associated with a base adjustment ARP. From a colleague, I have a promotion that was approved for July 24th. Will I be eligible for the increase? So I think Link will chime in here, but I believe your increase, assuming it's a promotion internal, your increase will be based on your old June 30th salary and not on the new promotional salary. It will, though, of course, be added to your new promotional salary, just at that amount. And so then your next payment will then be based on the new larger number. All right. Any other questions from the group?
Otherwise, we turn to benefits and Joe with open enrollment. Joe, welcome.
Hey, thank you. It's great to be here. Let me share my screen with you all here. Let's see, I'm not able to share. Mr. Banks on the phone or someone?
You'll be able to now.
Great, thank you. All right, got it. All right, from our updates today, I just want to talk to you real quick about open enrollment. And then, of course, we've got some retirement plan updates that you may have read about from the UNC system, and just want to kind of address those a little bit today as well. So first up, let's kind of talk through. So open enrollment, as you will note, is showing for Monday, October the 9th. So just starting next Monday, we'll begin kind of the open enrollment process. And open enrollment this year will run through Friday, October 27th. So roughly kind of 3 business weeks, if you will. And good news, no premium increases for the state health plan on the employee side. So those rates, if you pay the $25 or the $50 per month for your 70/30 or your 80/20, certainly those remain. Your dependent coverages, all of those things in the state health plan, those premiums are not increasing. There is a small increase on the low and high option dental plan premiums. As you may kind of recall, there are 3 plans. There's a low, a classic, which is sort of that middle plan, and then the high option dental premium. For some odd reason, only the low and the high will have some slight increases. As always, anyone who is in the state health plan will default back to the 70/30 plan during this open enrollment. Now, we get questions all the time. People hear about this default and they're like, but I'm on my spouse's plan. I'm not in the state health plan. Are they forcing me into this plan? No. So as it says here, anyone who's in the state health plan currently, that's where the default to the 70/30 plan will occur. So again, if you want the 80/20 plan for next year, for January, you do have to go in proactively, of course, and do your open enrollment. And then also you need to complete that tobacco attestation, because if you fail to do that tobacco attestation, you will pay $60 more a month as a tobacco surcharge. Now, occasionally we hear from folks, sometimes kind of January, February, they're looking at their paychecks and they're like, you know, why do I have this, you know, why am I paying $60 more a month? You know, I wanted the 70/30 plan, so I didn't think I had to do anything. Again, even if you want the 70/30 health plan, you still need to go in to do your tobacco attestation. And let me just remind you, even if you are a tobacco user, there's still an option that you can kind of attest that, hey, I'm a tobacco user, but I'm willing to do a tobacco cessation visit with a primary care provider or someone like a Minute Clinic. And again, you have until November 30th to complete that. As long as that claim kind of processes, and it's a free visit, as long as that claim processes, you will get credit for that tobacco attestation. So you will avoid that $60 per month surcharge. And then also, we always remind folks, if you want a flexible spending account for 2024, you will need to enroll or re-enroll in that for next year during this open enrollment. Now, the big kind of change this year, and we're really trying to kind of get in front of this because we know it's probably going to freak some people out, is in the past, the state enrollment portal has always been sort of the place where most all your benefits have been. And last year, of course, you'll recall that we had now the second kind of enrollment portal. So we're going into 2 separate enrollment portals. This year, most of the benefits have now moved over to the UNC system enrollment portal. So the state enrollment portal will only have kind of the medical state health plan and the tobacco attestation. Everything else is going to be in the UNC system enrollment portal. And of course, getting there, it's not very difficult. You simply go into your Connect Carolina self-service. You'll click on the nice little My Benefits tile. Over on the left, you'll see Benefits Enrollment, and you'll see the state enrollment portal and then the UNC system enrollment portal. So again, if you can help us kind of just remind folks about that, that would be greatly appreciated. Next up too, I just want to mention that we have our website, and this year we've just, our HR EOC comms team has just done a remarkable job to help us really streamline our site. No longer do you have like mile-long web pages. We've got it really streamlined and very concise. So go.unc.edu/enroll is how you can get to this site. And again, it's got all of the information about what we've talked about so far and all of the details. And I know, of course, there are some people who, you know, just give me the highlights. And there are some people who are like, give me all the details. And so you can get to all the details if you want it from this site. There's even like 36-page document on the state health plan if you want to go read about your health plans. So lots of good detailed information there. But this is a great place to go and refer people to. And finally, let me jump in here just for a moment to the UNC system changes to the retirement plans. Some of you may recall that the UNC system made some announcements, and we kind of sent out some memos via email to campus. The big change, of course, is that the optional retirement program, this is one of our 2 mandatory retirement plans, as well as our UNC 403B and UNC 457 plans. Those are our supplemental or voluntary retirement plans. Those are all kind of moving to a single vendor plan. In the past, we've had TIAA and we've had Fidelity. So the UNC system has decided as of September 1, TIAA will be the single vendor for all the UNC system retirement plans. All right, so kind of what does that mean? And let me just kind of scroll through. So first, here's some of the changes. So any newly eligible or newly hired employees as of September 1, the big changes, they now only have 30 days to enroll in retirement and benefits. If you kind of remember, if you've been here for a while, you probably remember you had 30 days for benefits and 60 days for retirement. They've now streamlined all of that under to the one 30-day deadline. Also, the newly eligible, newly hired as of September 1, they can either elect teasers, which is the state's retirement system pension plan, or the optional retirement program. And again, that is TIAA only for their mandatory retirement. And again, anyone enrolling in the UNC 403B or the UNC 457 plan for the first time, again, will only see TIAA as the vendor option. And then the whole big question, a lot of Fidelity participants, a little nervous about all of this, how is this all going to shake out? The guidance that we're getting from the UNC system is that sometime first quarter of 2024, maybe first part of second quarter of 2024, employee accounts in the Fidelity ORP 403B or 457 are going to automatically move and all map over to TIAA. And that's where probably a lot of discussion has been going on because people are like just nervous, about this transition. And anytime, sometimes you're taking away choice, people get upset about it. In the grand scheme of things, I think this is a great thing for the UNC system. There's just a lot of great wins here with having TIAA as kind of a single vendor. And again, you'll be hearing more and more about all of this. All this to say, a lot of communication will be going out to Fidelity participants, and we look forward to, again, a good, smooth, and successful transition. All right, that's all I've got at this point. I'm going to stop sharing, and if we have any questions, I'm happy to kind of help with any of those.
Any questions for Joe? I think we had a few in the
very
chat.
quickly. Very
Go ahead.
quickly.
Go ahead.
No, just, everything was great, well explained. Is it possible to get a copy of these slides to share with our people?
Yes, I am actually happy to send that along over to Katie and Matt, and you guys can push it out if you need to.
I will definitely do that.
Sure. Someone asked about the 401k through Prudential. That does stay the same. If you don't know, Prudential is no longer Prudential. A vendor called Empower, Empower, bought out the Prudential financial stuff. And so the state 401k and the state's 457 is now, the vendor is Empower. They're still kind of have blended sort of sites and all that stuff through the state treasurer's office where you see Prudential and Empower, but ultimately it's all just Empower going forward.
Excellent. And then Rebecca's other question, is there a link in the UNC system enrollment portal to get to the state enrollment portal?
Not within it. So again, because you have to go in through Connect Carolina because it's a single sign-on. So where it kind of shakes hands, if you will, between Connect Carolina that you've already logged in with your Onion and Duo. It shakes hands electronically with the state enrollment and with the UNC system enrollment. So that's kind of why you will need to do it through Connect Carolina self-service.
Leslie asks, health insurance paid by university departments is on a calendar year basis. Does anyone know what the new monthly rate will be starting January 1?
Yeah, so the rates have gone up to, I believe it's $654, but some official stuff will be coming out through the finance group about that and how the employer paid premiums. will happen.
And Becky, I haven't forgot about you. I'll read your comment in a second. Just wanted to get through all the benefits questions for Joe.
No worries.
Can you discuss the Aetna change?
Sure. So many of you have heard, of course, the state health plan is sort of shifting vendors in January 2025 from Blue Cross Blue Shield over to Aetna. And there's just a lot of, kind of nervousness, little discussion about that because the state health plan and Blue Cross, have been in sort of partnership for 20 plus years. So we certainly understand some of the apprehension. One of the great things, and I've been sort of privy to hearing some of the higher level discussions with this transition with Aetna. One is that they've brought in over 600 employees who will be working just the state health plan through Aetna. So that's a big thing that is good. So the customer servicing aspect from Aetna is actually expected to be better because there are more people dedicated to it than Blue Cross Blue Shield currently. The other thing is that Aetna actually did, they took all of the 2022 claims under the state health plan and they ran them through their system kind of fictitiously, if you will, just to see, like what matched. Over 98% of all the claims processed matched what Blue Cross Blue Shield had as far as like the in-network, out-of-network, those types of things. So coverage-wise, Aetna already has, almost an equal robust network, in North Carolina and the other 49 states, like Blue Cross and Blue Shield does. Now, what's happening, of course, is the state health plan. It's the largest health insurance plan in the state, over 700,000 participants. So medical providers, they want to be in the state health plan. They want to be in whatever network, whether it's Blue Cross or Aetna's network. So, daily, dozens of providers are coming on board as Aetna in-network providers. So that's been kind of the goal of this transition. And again, we're a year and a few months away from, switching over to Aetna, but everything is looking like it's well on track. The other thing that we've heard is that, people say, hey, I've, not heard good things about Aetna. They don't cover certain things, all of those types of items. Just keep in mind the state health plan is a self-insured plan. It writes its own rules. It decides what it's going to cover. And that's vendor neutral. It doesn't matter if Blue Cross has it or Aetna has it. It's what the state health plan decides, to cover and how much. So again, the vendor just does all the transactional stuff and the membership stuff and claims processing. So again, it's the state health plan, and our state health plan is the state health plan.
A few questions on the TIAA front. If I had a TIAA account in the past, can I get those credits back when this move happens?
It's back. I'm not quite sure what that means.
Touch base
Carolyn, if you could email me, just joe_williams@unc.edu. I'll be happy to talk with you about that in more detail.
And a similar question, if a late husband had one, can those accounts be merged when my UNC TIAA account is inherited?
Possibly. So again, Elizabeth, if you'll email me too, I can give you some more kind of detail on that. It just depends on sort of where that money is sort of sitting right now and how it's sitting there.
And on the Aetna front, do we know how the switch will affect our premiums? Will the employee premiums be increasing? I'm assuming it's too early to tell, but
it is more than likely, again, because the state health plan through the state treasurer's office, the state health plan sets the premiums. Aetna doesn't set it. Blue Cross doesn't set the premiums. Again, premiums are based on the state health plan. So again, we've not had increases, and I think this is maybe now year 4 or 5 that we've not had any kind of increases. So again, that's a, that would be a state health plan thing. That's not changing.
well, Keith had a shining review for you in the chat, Joe, an endorsement, so to speak.
Thank you, Keith.
Any other questions for Joe on the benefits front? Excellent.
Great.
Well, we appreciate all of those great updates, Joe. And then
Sure.
Coming back to Becky's update in the chat, Becky, did you want to share? You want me to read it out?
Sure. I just wanted to let you know that on November 10th, we are bringing back the annual Tar Heel Tribute, which is our celebration of employees who are veterans or military affiliated. We pull that list as a result of those who self-identify as veterans or being affiliated somehow. Really, it's veterans. The military affiliated usually is for students. we pull that list that way. We're eager to get those invites out. So if you are a veteran and have not self-identified in Connect Carolina, please do so immediately, so that we include you on the list. If you know of others, or as delegates, you're representing others in your districts who are veterans and have not yet self-identified, please encourage them to do so. There was a question about if this is open to others to be able to celebrate them. Unfortunately, right now, we have some space constraints because we have been able to recognize a fair number of veterans. So we've not been able to open it more broadly, though if that changes, I'll certainly report back to this group.
Excellent. Thanks, Becky. And then somebody else put in the, is there a link regarding the Tar Heel Tribute event, a website?
I don't know that there is yet, but there will be shortly.
Okay, great.
Yes.
And thank you so much for putting that on. That is such a great event. Awesome.
Yes. And I should note, as you go into self-identify, one of the things that we're going to be changing is as you self-identify on any, there's a whole bunch of categories you can self-identify, veteran status, disability status, race, ethnicity. Right now, those are for reporting purposes only. There are some exceptions with veterans, but not with others, that we can't distribute those lists. We are going to create an additional spot where people can say, I'm interested in sharing my information or my interest around this topic to receive communication. So we'll report back on that. But I know several of you have asked about how we can demonstrate to the university, not just that we either identify a certain way or have interest in a certain way, but are also interested in seeking and receiving communications associated with that. We'll be sure to give you an update so that you can do so. We are trying to update the system to be responsive to those requests. So more to come.
Excellent. Okay. Next up, we have Jessica Pyjas with our wellness updates. Jessica.
Good morning. Quick sound check. Can everyone hear me okay? Perfect. Well, it's great to see everyone. I'm just here to let you know what we have going on for the next coming month. We have our weekly webinars, and I want to just share some of those topics with you. Today we have one on Dexercise, which is taking care of your body during the workday. Show you some stretches that you can do throughout the workday to keep you comfortable, your posture straight, and your ergonomics on point. On October 11th, we have a new session, which is buying a home in today's market. That's going to be provided by Fonville Morrissey. If you're not aware, we have a program called UNC Smart Moves. So they'll be talking more about those benefits through the UNC Smart Moves program. So if home ownership, or if you're selling a home, if any of that is in your future, or you're just considering it, I do advise you to tune in so you can learn more about that process and the benefits to the UNC Smart Moves program. Then on the 18th, we have a new topic called digital mindfulness, which is taking control of your device and screen time, because as efficient as our smartphones can be, they are also big time wasters. So tune into that if you want some tips on to be digitally mindful. And then we're closing out the month on overcoming negative thinking. We did have relatively low participation in the month of September. It kind of was a recovery month for a lot of us, but our biggest session was breathing techniques to relieve stress and improve health. So people are still tuning in each week. We just had a little bit less participation in September, but we'll put that month behind us and look for greater participation this month. Again, with the new design of our HR website, you'll see work life as one of those tabs you can click on. And that calendar is at the bottom of that drop down, where you'll see all of our events, not just through Total Wellbeing, but the things that we promote that come from the School of Medicine, our community meditation sessions, our yoga sessions through Gilling's School of Public Health. So it's not just Total Wellbeing, but we try to house as many activities that are related to work life and wellness in one spot so you can find them easily. We are continuing with our financial wellness series with the State Employees Credit Union. So their last session will be October 17th on a Tuesday, and that will be Saving for College. So how do you fit that saving for college if you have a child who's nearing those college years, or a child who was just recently born? How do you fit that into your budget if you're going to be funding them through college? So I encourage you to check out that webinar. And then we do have TIA is coming back this semester to host a fall lunch and learn, which will be a hybrid session. It'll be available in person on October 31st at Wilson Library. They will be providing a boxed lunch from Med Deli, but it will also be available to folks to participate virtually if you're not on campus that day, or just find it easier to tune in for that quick hour. It is from noon to 1, and we'll open those doors earlier at Wilson Library for folks to participate. In addition to that, there are many discounts that will be promoted in the newsletter that come out this Friday. One of those is called Bright Dime. You may have heard of it before. We've mentioned it before. They're participating in our discount program now. Bright Dime is a financial wellness tool. It helps you budget. It's similar to an old program app called mint.com. But that's going to be offered free to UNC employees. It is typically not free for the Bright Dime Essentials program. And then if you want a little bit more assistance and you want to sign up for Bright Dime My Coach Plus, that's $20 a month, but that is not required. So I do encourage you to check that out if you want to have a better idea of where your money is going each month. We'll also be promoting discounts with the Martinsville Speedway up in Virginia. They're having a Public Employee Appreciation Day. So tickets are discounted to $40 for that. We're reminding you and letting you know about the Carolina Performance Discount. They had previously offered an employee discount at just 15%. They have increased that discount to 25% off show tickets, limited to 4 tickets per employee. And then they're having a special show on October 14th and 15th with 100 or so community members throughout Orange, Wake, and Durham counties. And that's going to be absolutely free to you. If you want to go, you can get 4 free complimentary tickets. So that will be coming out in the newsletter on Friday as well. And then it is Spooky Month. So if you're into spooky things, Carowinds become Scarowinds, so you can save on those tickets. And if you have smaller children, there is a friendly pumpkin patch and trick-or-treating ticket as well for folks going in the daytime. But all those discounts will be in the newsletter that comes out on Friday. So please do scroll through the entire newsletter and see all the great updates and information that we have in there. Any questions for me?
Questions for Jessica? Just another big kudos to you, Jessica, for all of your work in the aftermath of the shooting incidents on campus. Really, truly important work that you and your team were doing. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. That's what I'm here for. I hate that I had to do it, but I'm never going to leave anyone hanging. So absolutely.
Arlene had a question in the chat. Any chance we can get an Amtrak discount? Question.
I don't think I've looked into that, but I will reach out. The worst thing they can say is no. I think I've gotten a no from another program before I reached out to, but Amtrak is not one I've looked into. So I'll reach out and see what I can find, Arlene.
I have a note on that, Jessica. They do provide a 10% discount to state employees,
Oh, great.
Okay.
but that may be only for travel in North Carolina. That may be NC by train, but that's a good place to start.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Awesome, awesome. As always, we will be sure to send out Jessica's updates via email following the meeting. So thanks as always for providing these, Jessica.
And I look forward to seeing you on October 20th in the Great Hall.
Excellent.
We're out and about.
All right, folks. Moving on to the next section of our agenda, I'm going to use my authority as chair to pull committee updates from the consent agenda and go through those one by one this time around, since we've not done that in a while. So that just leaves the September minutes on the consent agenda. super apologize for the length of these minutes. They were quite long, but we had so many great substantive updates last month that we wanted to make sure we shared all of those details in the minutes. Kudos to Matt for pulling those together. So with all of that said, do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda and the minutes within?
I send.
Okay, Arlene moved. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstaining? All right, the motion carries. The consent agenda passes. Okay, so forum committee updates. We'll go through one by one. Communications and public relations, Shane and or Joe, any updates from y'all? Kudos and thanks for getting our In Touch out earlier this week.
I don't know if Shane is here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. I don't really have any updates other than the In Touch went out this week. And we'll have a meeting next month.
Excellent. Thanks, Joe. Book club. I know the book club announcement just went out. Is Vanessa and or Nataya on the call or give any other updates? Make sure y'all check out the recent announcement for the book club that just went out.
Hi, Katie.
Hey, Nataya.
So yeah, the announcement went out. I can go over it if you want me to. This month we're doing the 10,000 doors of January, and the meeting is on November 16th. We have a Zoom link, and if you didn't get the announcement, please hit me up. I'm happy to forward it over to you. Thanks.
Thanks, Nataya.
I'm sorry, I couldn't get off mute. I don't know why.
No worries, Vanessa.
Yeah, and so unfortunately we didn't have much participation last month. I don't know if it was the book or people being busy, but yes, definitely please come. Thanks.
These are always so fun. So thanks y'all for putting those together. All right, next up we have Community Service Committee, Ali and or Teresa.
Hey, this is Teresa. I'm not sure if Allie is on. I think actually she told me she wasn't going to be able to meet today. So we are working on getting together, both Allie and I, to kind of get a place of where we are. And Jacob, I believe I reached out. I'm not sure if you got that message, if you're still on here. We wanted to start looking at our food drive and start working on the adopting the family for the holidays. So those are two things that you'll be hearing more about very soon. And that's about all the updates that I have.
Excellent.
I don't want to steal anybody's thunder on the blood drive.
Speaking of the blood drive, Renata, is Renata on the call today?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, Renata.
Hey. So the blood drive is ramping up. We'll be sending out requests for volunteer signups in a few weeks. We will be at the Employee Appreciation Fair on the 20th doing volunteer signups as well as donor signups. If you do plan on donating, our website is already live, so you can go ahead, go to UNC-Carolina Blood Drive and sign up for a spot. But that's all I have right now.
Awesome. Thank you. Community Garden, Arlene.
We don't have any new updates, but the garden does always need volunteers. So if you or your group wants to do team building or just get out in the sunshine, especially in gorgeous weather like we're having this week, it's a good time to get out there and help out.
October is a great time to get out in the garden, rake some falling leaves and help out in this beautiful fall weather that we're going to be having the next couple of weeks.
Start planting the winter crops.
Exactly. Excellent. Thanks, Arlene. Next up, diversity, equity, and inclusion, Rebecca and or Lori.
Hello, everyone. We finally did have a meeting. I'm on dueling Zoom meetings, so it's been a fun morning. Multitasking doesn't work well. So we had our meeting back on the 18th of September. Becci Menghini came and shared with us information about the EHRA and SHRA distinctions, and with an update about the transition for some employees. I will send out the minutes rather than try to explain a summary of that. I'll send out the minutes so folks who are interested in that distinction can have that update. We talked a little bit about goals for this coming year. I will be honest, we were all pretty exhausted on that particular day. So looking forward wasn't exactly the headspace that we were in. And so we kind of honored that, and we're going to look at that in our October meeting. But yeah, it was good to be in space with folks that that were willing to say, hey, we're just not in a place to look ahead right now. And so hoping we will be in that space in October, but we did hold a little space for one another, and then
Yeah.
finished up our meeting.
Well, great. Thank you so much, Rebecca. Let's see here. Education and career development, Ali and Siobhan.
So big update is that professional development grants for the fall will open in mid-October. And so if you're interested in reviewing applications, that would be in early-ish November with a hope to get notifications to folks before Thanksgiving. If you would like to review applications, typically that's between like 50 and 60 applications, although last semester we had 90 plus, but I didn't make everybody. Yeah, I know, Keith, I know you're busy. So if you're interested, please send me an email so that I don't lose it. Yeah, I won't make you do all 90. I did split them last time so that we had easier reading. So anyways, those will open in October. There will be an email from Matt once I get him all of the materials. So just keep your eyes out and please share as needed. Otherwise, the committee has been meeting, talking a little bit about new employee orientation and onboarding and training, and it's a really huge topic. So we're trying to break it down bit by bit. We did talk a little bit about how safety is addressed or maybe will be addressed at new employee orientation. So those are things that are all on our minds, but we continue to work on those bits. And that's it.
Excellent. Thanks, Ali. We forgot executive committee on here, but I'll provide a brief update that's relevant to professional development grants. We did hear back about our budget requests, and unfortunately we did not get approved to increase to pre-pandemic levels this year. We're hoping to get that next year. But even still, we have found the money in our existing budget to make sure that both the blood drive and the professional development grants have increased funding available this year, given the increased demand for those two priorities. So glad to have that as a part of our budget this year. If you have questions about our budget, executive committee always handles those types of things, and you're always welcome to come to those as they are open meetings. So that is executive committee. Membership and assignments, Tiffany and/or Keith.
Good morning. Right now we are currently working on planning the December meeting, which we plan to have as a hybrid meeting. Still haven't solidified a space just yet, but we are working on that, and the committee will meet here soon to touch base about that and other details regarding the meeting. Our plan is to kind of return to our previous years in person, having some refreshments, breakfast items, and just have a time of kind of fellowship with one another prior to our normal meeting. So right now, if there are any suggestions on a space in your building on campus that might have that would be friendly to a hybrid meeting, and also an area for us to set up refreshments, any suggestions you have would be great. Katie or Keith, feel free to fill in anything that I may have missed regarding that.
Just a kudos and thank you to both Tiffany and Keith for helping spearhead this planning. Keith, did you have something?
No, I think she covered it all. Did she give the date? Did you give the date? I don't.
Oh, the December meeting is on December 6th. It will be at our regular employee forum meeting time. We'll have the social in lieu of our normal monthly meeting. So it's from 9:15 to 11:30, most likely. Awesome. Okay. Next up, we have personnel issues, Leah and/or Sharon.
Hi, we had a meeting last Thursday and there were no revisions to the Juneteenth resolution that we read at the last meeting. And since the last General 4 meeting, we've also heard back from the Carolina Black Caucus who would like to sign on to that. So that's really the only minor revision, is that they want to co-sign that. The only other update we have is that we would like to have the grievance coordinator come speak to the personal issues at our next committee meeting. So we're hoping to do that and schedule that for October or November, whenever we can get them to come. So those are the two big updates.
Excellent. And we'll turn to a second reading of said Juneteenth resolution later in the meeting. So thank you for all your work on that front. Next up, we have recognition and awards. I know Charlie had to head out. I don't know if Gabby is on the call.
Yes, I'm here. So the latest update is that we haven't had a second formal meeting, but we did release an email thread to have everyone in our group decide whether or not we wanted to take on 2 additional awards. And it seems that the unanimous vote was yes. So we will be taking on 2 awards from UMA.
Yeah, so if we do move forward with the UMA merger that we've talked about previously,
Thank you for your time. Have a wonderful day.
recognition and awards will fold
Right.
those 2 awards from campus and into our recognition awards season that happens in June every year. So that is good. Okay. And speaking of that proposal, the merger proposal is kind of in a more final form. We're waiting on some kind of final tweaks and edits by UMA folks before this body kind of takes it up and votes on whether or not we would agree on the proposal and choose to merge with UMA. And from there, UMA will vote on final passage of that. So more to come on that. It's in development as we speak. Okay. Rules Committee, Jacob.
Hey, yeah, no, there's been no forward progress. Unfortunately, it's not been the best of times for me. One of these days it'll slow down. It'll happen, I promise, I guarantee it. But yeah, if anybody would really like to step up, that would be fantastic. I'm right now having to wear a lot of hats and a lot of different things are coming at me. But yeah, don't worry, we get to host Employee Appreciation Day.
Yay. I know life is crazy busy in the union, Jacob, so no worries at all. And you're just going to speak it into existence that things will slow down soon. I love.
But no, I think we're also, I mean, the big points that I really want to encourage people to do is just honestly would be lovely is just look through the rules. And again, we've got it created on the team's channels. Go in there. There's an open one. You can make suggestions. You can make notes, particularly when it comes to readability. That's a big initiative that we want to push university wide. I know Matt Teal is working on that as well within the policy office. But yeah, if something doesn't read clean, I mean, like I know we put in like little blurbs about how they read, but anything that doesn't make sense, anything that's weird at this point, we're noticing enough weird little things that it's you should be like, oh, we can fix this one thing. It turns into something else as well. So yeah, honestly, anything that folks get a chance to, I understand everybody's probably wearing 2 hats right now too. But yeah, thanks for your time and very much thanks for your patience.
Agreed. Jacob, thank you so much for those updates. And I echo the call to everyone on this body to kind of take a look at the bylaws and can contribute your thoughts because it's important that this be a group effort to make sure that our bylaws reflect the will of our body. So please do volunteer your time to that effort. And it's going to be probably a months-long effort, and we'll get to hopefully some bylaws revisions, votes, probably in the spring, I think is likely at this point. So great. Thank you so
It'll
much.
definitely slow down for the holidays.
Yes.
I will close the building to students, and I will be able to sit in my office and just do my stuff. It'll be great.
It will be great.
And there will be no mechanical failures. Nothing's going to leak. HVACs will be fine.
We're going to manifest our destiny, right? Okay. Awesome. Next up, we have UNC System Staff Assembly updates. Keith, do you want to take the lead on providing updates from our last meeting? And the Chancellor's Cup Golf Tournament. I'll let you kind of take the lead on both of those updates. Maybe Keith is unavailable right this second. So we are getting ready to meet again in October, this time at UNCW. So we're looking forward to that. And that meeting, the second day, is where our very own Shayna Hill will become chair, full-on chair of the staff assembly. So we're very excited about that. Looking forward to that transition. So the Chancellor's Cup Golf Tournament was last week. It was a great time had by all over in Greensboro. We have not received updates on the kind of funding, charitable donations collected at the event. Hopefully we'll get some updates on that soon, and we can maybe provide an update in our next In Touch on how successful the event was, and maybe some photos from our group hole, which was at hole 10 again this year. A great time was had by all, I know. There was a grill and burgers and dogs, and like we were that extra this year. So if y'all have not volunteered at one before, I highly encourage you to do that if you have time in future years. So, and the final update on the Chancellor's Cup Golf Tournament for next year is our very own Keith Hines has volunteered to step up and be executive director of the golf tournament next year. So he will help Shayna and the staff assembly to lead the planning and execution of that event next year. Hopefully, fingers crossed, maybe back at Finley here in Chapel Hill. So we're very much looking forward to that as well. Keith will do a great job. Okay. University committee updates. First up, we have building and grounds. James, any updates from that group?
We have very little that's came before the committee in way of voting, but the last thing that we had in September was Caldwell Hall Accessibility Improvement Project. There's a small addition that we had to select 3 designers, and that will come back before the committee when it's more significantly developed, and we'll get to look at that in the future. So not much at all from Building and Grounds Committee.
Excellent. The Advisory Committee on Transportation and Parking, Keith and I are continuing to meet on that. We are in the phase of the process where we're looking at kind of financial models of what we could potentially look at, changes to the pricing structure, whatever we call that, of the cost for parking for employees. So we're going to take a look at that, and hopefully we can advocate and make some changes that will benefit staff on campus in the price of parking. So more to come on that. We're proceeding nicely on those on that committee. Next up, we've got DEI Council. Lori, any updates from main campus DEI efforts? I don't know if Lori is on the call. Okay. Next up, we've got Carolina.
I know Lori.
Go ahead, Rebecca. Yeah.
Yeah, Lori is engaged in some home renovations, so she's kind of off and on. So I don't know if she has an update on that one. I'm sorry.
No worries, no worries. Next up, we've got Carolina Peer Support Collaborative. Any updates from Gabby and or Natalia on that group? Nope. Okay. Next up, we've got the EOC Policy Advisory Group. Jonah, any updates from you on that group? I don't know if Jonah's on the call either. All right.
He was earlier, but
No worries.
I'm right now.
Let's see here. Generative AI Committee, Matt Teal, I'm going to call on you to give the updates for this group.
Sure. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
So we have, sorry, just pulling this up. The university's generative AI committee was charged by the provost with coming up with a series of guidelines, so not policies, but best practices and recommendations to help students, faculty, and staff figure out when and how to use generative AI tools like ChatGPT. It's my understanding that work is now largely done, so I will put a link in the chat so folks can see all the resources, and I wanted to particularly call your attention to the specific resources or specific guidelines for administrative work. So this applies to faculty and staff doing administrative work, so things like HR, IT, finance actions. This is where Katie and I were involved with helping draft these for the university. And again, these are best practices and recommendations, and we're going to revisit them moving forward. This particular document was recently published in the last couple of days, and there are some weird formatting issues going on with it. So I've been emailing about that this morning to get it corrected. But the substance appears to be right. All the links look like they're working. So please take a look at that. Use that. I understand that folks are already using ChatGPT or trying to figure out how to use ChatGPT and similar tools in your work. So this should be a set of resources to help you figure out how to ethically use it, responsibly use it. When do you need to disclose that you're using it versus when do you not need to disclose it, and so on. So, Katie, did I miss anything?
The only thing I would add is I know today and tomorrow are 2 trainings focused on staff around use of generative AI. Those are available for sign up in Carolina Talent rather. And I think both of them are from 2:30 to 3:30, one today and one tomorrow. We put that blurb and the link to sign up in the In Touch if you haven't seen it. So if y'all are interested in that space and want to take a training around generative AI and learn more about it, I encourage y'all to sign up. But yeah, it was great to get to work on that committee and get some guidance out for staff who are going to be utilizing this technology as well. Michael.
I just wanted to note that the Information Security Office did an outreach event on campus on a lot of, computer security and personal privacy concern issues on Monday, and somebody involved in helping organize that, I'm not sure which of my colleagues, brought some signage for those new guidelines, and students were really interested in talking about that, and that was greatly appreciated. That was a very actively engaged with resource.
Great.
So thank you very much for y'all's work.
Thank you, really, and a big kudos to Matt Teal for bringing this up. I mean, this really all started with Matt bringing a question forward in our June meeting to Provost Clemens, who was doing our roundtable that month. And that literally started the ball rolling. A week later, we had formed the subcommittee and gotten this put together and got the help of operational excellence to kind of spearhead and kind of move forward with developing the guidance. So really, Matt Teal, kudos to you for bringing this forward and making sure that staff got the resources they need on this emerging technology. So great.
Thanks for your partnership and help, Katie.
Of course. And I did see in the chat, Jonah is on the call, his audio wasn't working. The EOC policy group had its first meeting or has its first meeting rather this Friday at 2. So thank you, Jonah, for serving on that and being our liaison for that group. Let's see. And yeah, Arlene said, I overheard someone talking about using it, i.e. generative AI, as a starting point to write an RFP. Yeah, that's a there's a lot of really intriguing ways that we could potentially fold it into the work we do here at Carolina. So I encourage y'all to kind of start exploring it. It is a little scary to think about. I know I'm a little intimidated by it, and I think it's still so new. We're going to have a lot of learning to go on how to use this effectively moving forward. So excellent. Okay. Let's see here. I'm going to skip parking appeals for a second, and Matt, I'm just going to keep it on you with the policy review committee. Any updates from you and or June?
Yeah, I was going to let June take the lead on this if she's on the call.
I think she was earlier. June, are you on the call?
If not, I'm happy to provide the updates. But
I think she rolled off the
Okay.
call because I don't see her name on the list.
All right, so Policy Review Committee met on September 21st, and we had a series of updates from the Carolina Union on things like amplified sound, how to rent items from the Carolina Union, and then sort of updates to their signage and advertising policy. So that affects anyone wanting to do business and use the Carolina Union space. Then we had Office of Human Resources came and presented some updates. The state Office of State Human Resources has updated their disciplinary action policy. So that has trickled down and has implications for us. It sounds like from the briefing we got from Anjanette McAdoo that substantively a lot of what is changed in the policy we're already doing, but I did want to flag particularly there were updates at the state policy level around formal notification before employee separation, employee assistance program referrals to employees as needed, and virtual pre-disciplinary conferences. So that is now all formally captured in state level policy. And we are, if we weren't already doing those things, and it sounded like we largely were, we will be making sure we follow the state policy there moving forward.
Well, thanks for those updates, Matt. Okay, so parking appeals, I do have a few updates there, and I'll turn it to Tiffany and Charlie in a second for anything I missed. But we are looking at kind of reconstituting that group a little bit because some representatives from our other constituencies, i.e. faculty, students, et cetera, have fallen off in recent years. So we're trying to kind of put that group back together. From what I hear from our former kind of chair of that group, Christi, we're trying to work with the Chancellor's office to get some clarity around authorities and kind of the charge of the committee so that we can move forward with a clear understanding for any new members that roll onto the group of how to proceed. So we're working through some of the logistics now and trying to reconstitute the group with other representatives from across campus. So more to come on that hopefully soon, and we'll be reaching out to Chancellor's office to get some guidance as we move forward. Tiffany or Charlie, anything I missed or any other updates you want to share on Parking Appeals Committee?
Yeah, so we were sent some new appeals that are waiting now for our review. Actually, Charlie and I are going to meet on Thursday, tomorrow, to go over that. I'm going to kind of show her the ropes on how to review them and what that looks like, the process that we currently have in place, so that at least there are some responses and we can make a judgment. I'm not sure how, I mean, Christi can still see it all, so I'm not sure how she'll proceed once we put our input in. I don't know if she'll pass it along to, whoever it needs to go to within parking as far as the decisions go. But yeah, so we will definitely be working on that Thursday and should have our feedback put in within the next few days.
Excellent. Thank you both for your work on that committee and for taking the lead on kind of reconstituting it, so to speak, and getting it up back to muster, because I know it's dropped off in the past year or so. So looking forward to that. Next up, Student Stores Advisory Committee. Any updates from David and or Stephanie on that group?
Hello. No, we have not met since early spring, so no updates.
Excellent. Tuition and fee advisory and student fee advisory. Any updates from Tracy on that group? I know things you pick up usually in September, October-ish around that group. Is Tracy on the call? Oh, you're breaking up, Tracy. Maybe provide your updates maybe via email to me, and I'll include them in the email after the meeting with all the other kind of updates. Awesome. Okay, well, that concludes our committee updates. Did I miss anyone, or does anyone have anything else before we move to old business? Nope. Okay. So first up with old business, I want to turn back to community meeting planning really quickly and kind of touch base with the body on that front. The meeting last month where we heard from Charles Marshall and Amy Locklear-Hertel on the Students for Fair Admissions Act, I think was a really helpful and substantive update on that front from the university. So I think I kind of want to just touch base with the group on seeing the pulse of whether or not we need a community meeting around this topic. I think that update was probably as much as we're going to get from the university at this phase. I think we continue to keep them, hold them accountable and get continual updates as we proceed getting closer to the undergraduate admissions season. But my sense is I don't know that a community meeting around this front will be much more substantive than the meeting we had last month, and we can always provide folks across campus the link to the recording of that meeting if they have questions about where we stand as of right now. Thoughts from the group on this?
I have one thought. I agree. I don't think we'll get much more than the we intend to follow the ruling to the letter of the law statement for now. In addition to kind of your comment about holding them accountable, I do think it will be important in the coming calendar years and fiscal years to continue to ask them about how they plan to address changes to diversity. States like California have spent hundreds of millions of dollars to recorrect when they have gotten rid of affirmative action policies. And I don't see a world where North Carolina is willing to invest that to correct issues caused by this ruling. So I think it'll be important to continue to ask them that every year, just to make sure they know we're paying attention, because I do think that in the next couple of years, we'll see changes to admissions numbers.
Very good point, Audrey. Getting continual updates on this front and on the data and seeing kind of the impact this decision has will be really important. So maybe even the DEI committee could kind of take this up as something to look at and maybe formulate a plan on kind of when we kind of bring forward updates and ask, or even putting together a resolution around calling for data and updates as they become available on diversity statistics, and our continued focus and emphasis on that as one of our values and part of our mission. Great, Audrey, thank you. Arlene?
I wonder, I'm sure staff has questions as well. How do we let them know, hey, if you want to know about this, please see the employee forum meeting on this date for additional information from administration to communicate that.
I do know that in our In Touch, we provided a blurb at the beginning that talked about kind of what we discussed last meeting and provided the link to our YouTube recording. So we did get the announcement out there that existed for folks that were interested. But if we ever get any other folks asking kind of like for updates on that front, we can always point them to our YouTube page, which is linked on our employee forum website. And they can always access past meetings, and we just need to tell them, like, focus on the September one if you're interested in Students for Fair Admission. Well, we'll continue the community meeting planning kind of conversation because we do still need to have one this year. I think the other kind of conversation we had around other topics was around the state health plan transition to the new administrative provider, whatever we're calling that. So potentially planning that in the next few months or even early spring. So that conversation will continue in the executive committee, and we'll kind of put together a plan for when and kind of what our community meeting will consist of. So if you're interested in participating in that planning effort, please do attend employee executive committee meetings moving forward, and we'll continue that conversation there. Any final thoughts or comments on community meeting? Okay. The next item on old business is the proposed resolution 23-02 designating Juneteenth as an official university holiday, the second reading of this particular proposed resolution. As Leah mentioned earlier in the call, the only update and change that happened in between first reading and second reading is that the Carolina Black Caucus wanted to co-sign this particular resolution as it was originally drafted on the first reading. So we simply changed the language to include a section for them to co-sign at the bottom, and mentioned that it was co-signed at the top. So I can share my screen now, and Leah, maybe if you would lead the effort to kind of do the second reading of this once I get my screen shared. All right, can folks see my screen? And do we need to make it bigger for anyone? Maybe try and make this a little bit bigger. Hang on. Okay. All right, Leah, take it away.
Right, October 4th, 2023, resolution 23-02 regarding designating Juneteenth an official university holiday. Whereas it is the stated mission of the employee forum to seek out and address constructively issues affecting staff, faculty, and students of the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, UNC-Chapel Hill, and whereas June 19th or Juneteenth holds significant historical and cultural importance, marking the day when news of the Emancipation Proclamation reached unlawfully enslaved African Americans in Texas on June 19th, 1865, 2.5 years after it was issued, and whereas Juneteenth has been widely recognized and celebrated as a holiday across the United States, symbolizing not only the end of slavery, but the ongoing struggle and hope for civil rights and equality, and whereas on June 16th and 17th, 2021, the Juneteenth National Independence Day Act, designating Juneteenth a legal public holiday, was passed by the 117th United States Congress, June 16th, and signed into law by the 46th President of the United States, June 17th, and whereas on June 6th, 2022, the 75th Governor of North Carolina signed Executive Order 262, providing up to 8 hours of paid personal observance leave per calendar year for employees of cabinet agencies to acknowledge Juneteenth or another day of personal, religious, or cultural significance, and at the same time encouraged other state agencies, commissions, boards, or offices to adopt the policy for their personnel, but did not deem Juneteenth a state holiday, and whereas on June 14th, 2022, in accordance with Executive Order 262, the 7th President of the University of North Carolina UNC System and 12th Chancellor of UNC-Chapel Hill authorized up to 8 hours of personal observance leave per calendar year for UNC-Chapel Hill employees, but did not deem Juneteenth a university holiday. And whereas the state of North Carolina provides 12 paid holidays per calendar year, and the Office of State Personnel allows each UNC System campus to establish its own holiday schedule, provided that the total number of paid holidays per calendar year is the same as other state agencies. And whereas Juneteenth, also known as Emancipation Day, National Freedom Day, and America's Second Independence Day, represents America's dedication to the cause of freedom, as well as a recommitment to the work of equity, equality, and justice, and should be held in the same regard as Independence Day, July 4th, and Martin Luther King Jr. Day, the third Monday in January. And whereas local governments, schools, and communities observe Juneteenth, the university should also acknowledge this day of national and cultural significance. And whereas by designating Juneteenth, a campus holiday, the university would be demonstrating its commitment to the first strategic initiative of Carolina Next, the university's strategic plan to invest in policy, systems, and infrastructure that promote belonging, community, and benefits of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Now therefore be it resolved that the Employee Forum of the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill calls on university leadership to, 1, use all authority and flexibility the university has under North Carolina law, administrative code, and policy to recognize Juneteenth as an official university holiday in lieu of spring holiday, Good Friday. 2, encourage all members of the university committee to actively participate in Juneteenth celebrations and engage in dialogue about the significance of this historic day. 3, promote events, educational programs, and activities that commemorate Juneteenth and foster an inclusive and supportive environment for staff, faculty, students, and the wider community. 4, advocate for the recognition of Juneteenth as a state holiday in North Carolina. 5, collaborate with other educational institutions, community organizations, and advocacy groups to raise awareness about the historical significance of Juneteenth and the importance of recognizing it as a state holiday. Signed on behalf of the Employee Forum and the Carolina Black Caucus at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, Katie Musgrove, Chair, Patricia Harris, Carolina Black Caucus Chair.
Okay, so that was the second reading. I realized I did not call for a motion. Do I hear a motion to take up resolution 23-02 on second reading?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion on the motion on the floor to discuss resolution 23-02?
Yeah, Katie, so when I reviewed this, I guess I didn't scroll down to the total bottom with all the bullets on the resolution, that the ask is to replace this with Good Friday. And so I would just like to express some concerns about that.
Yes, definitely. We've heard some concerns around that. I do want to kind of just say, as kind of chair of this body, that please do feel free to bring forward questions, concerns, comments from you and or your constituency on this matter. We want to hear y'all's unvarnished feedback and really just encouraging y'all to make sure you vote your conscience on this. Like, this is something up for discussion and debate. And I just wanted to make that clear for everyone on the call that that is our purview as a body to make sure that we're doing that work on behalf of staff. So don't be shy and don't be afraid to, let your voice be heard on this front. So
yeah, so part of my concern, I guess I fully agree with everything in this about this becoming a recognized holiday for everyone at the university. What I have a concern with is is sort of swapping out another existing holiday to do that. And so my concern for that would be, what that looks like to those who celebrate that holiday. And that's any holiday, religious or not. Swapping one out for something else, to me, maybe there's a better way to add a holiday as opposed to swapping one for another.
Hey, Katie, I think we should outline what we can and cannot do legally. Legally, we do not have the authority to just add a 13th day. That is mandated by the state of North Carolina. You get 12 days and the university decides where those 12 days go. So there's no option to add a 13th day. So that legally cannot be done.
And I think that's where the kind of trajectory of this conversation has gone, because we do not have local authority to do that within the confines of the bureaucracies we're working with, which are unfortunate, because I would wholeheartedly agree just adding a 13th seems appropriate. But given we don't have the authority to do that, I think the language around use all authority and flexibility the university has under North Carolina law speaks to the fact that we can't just ask them to add another holiday. And kind of the conversation in personnel issues in the conversations I was a part of spoke to choosing a university holiday that was a religious holiday seems the most appropriate, given others of different religious faiths on campus are expected to use personal observance leave to recognize their religious observances. It kind of puts those of Christian faith on a level playing field with those folks, because the personal observance leave of 8 hours is eligible to be used for those who practice or who are of Christian faith and would have every right to use that for Good Friday. So it wouldn't be necessarily taking away the opportunity for those to celebrate that believe in and have a Christian faith. So I think it maybe speaks to an amount of equity that does not exist right now on our campus for those of non-Christian faith. That's just by way of background. I do still understand that there's concern of how it looks that we're trying to take away, quote unquote, spring holiday, which a lot of folks do celebrate. Yeah, that's just kind of where the conversation landed. Rebecca, or no, not Rebecca, sorry, Liz.
I don't know where to go with this. This is just me checking in. I got really frustrated, not UNC, not pointing fingers. I got really frustrated this year at how many things were scheduled on my high holy days, which is like scheduling something on Christmas or April. I always appreciate that I can use the personal observance day. I did use it this year on Yom Kippur, but is there a way to advocate, and using Juneteenth as an example, is there a way to advocate for not scheduling things on days that are like Christmas for other people? I know we could really drive ourselves crazy trying to look up every single observation. I get that. But let's get away from my Judaism and go into Juneteenth. Is there a way we can also state that this should be an observance for the university and not have important things scheduled on it for staff? I know the academics have to do what they do for students and exams and everything, but is there space to have our voices heard for Juneteenth, which I think, by the way, is every bit as significant as my Yom Kippur? I think it's extremely significant. I think we should add a legal holiday for it, but I appreciate Keith reminding us that we can't do that. What other language can we get in here? It wasn't just UNC, and I don't mind that I missed the football game recognition. I know football games get scheduled. But you know, thank you. And it wasn't just UNC. It's like nobody even looks at a Jewish holiday calendar anymore, and our holidays don't fall on neat, tidy days. It's a lot like Easter, but at least Easter gets celebrated on a Sunday, and that's predictable. I want to use this example and tie it all into, if we can't make it a legal holiday, can we emphasize for staff that really important stuff should not be scheduled on these days that you can clearly see on a calendar if you use the right one? Sorry, that was it. That's my kvetch fest. Bye.
Thanks, Liz. That's great. Great feedback. Drexel?
Yeah, I enjoy this resolution, and yes, I firmly believe that Juneteenth should be recognized, and I assumed when they made it a federal holiday that was the case. But yeah, I am kind of troubled by this replacement suggestion. I'm just wondering, is it another course that we could just press the university to just make an additional holiday? I mean, we don't have the power to do so, but the university does.
No, the university does not.
Yeah.
The state legislature would have to vote to add another holiday. The university can't just add one.
No, I don't mean the university could add one, but could we not put pressure on the university to advocate to the state level that we have a number of people on our campus that feel that this day should be an additional holiday. I'm just saying, like I said, I recognize Juneteenth, and you know, I do believe it warrants its own special day. I just don't know about this replacing one holiday to service another. I don't want, you know, when you come from a situation of being marginalized, where regardless of whatever your gender, your race, your religion, sometimes we can run into a trap where you can kind of become what you're fighting against, if that makes sense. And that's where I'm coming from, where this was a holiday that was not recognized for a long period of time. It was celebrated by just the community. It was actually just celebrated by people in the Midwest. A lot of people from where I'm from New York, we barely knew about Juneteenth. But when I came into knowledge of it, I was like, wow, this is really something good, something that, you know, I took to heart. So we celebrated it. And now it's on a national front. And I'm grateful to be alive to see that. But I don't want a celebration to come at the cost where I'm taking a day from someone else. Okay. That is my concern with this, you know, and I know we're only talking about the university. We're only making a suggestion to the university. So I'm not trying to make this sound like this is like some kind of national decision making or whatever like that. But I'm just looking at that is the thing that's kind of troubling to me. My thing is, why can't it be space to observe all these things? That Good Friday can still have its place for those who do celebrate Good Friday. And Juneteenth can also have its equal place for those who want to celebrate it. That's all I'm saying.
Maybe like there's been some conversation in the chat around like, instead of suggesting a specific holiday, keeping it neutral, that the university consider making Juneteenth one of its 12 holidays and figure out kind of which one it would replace. Also, there's the thought that maybe we would add language around here that spring holiday could still be observed with the 8 hours of personal observance leave we do have, and it's not taking away the opportunity of those who celebrate Good Friday to observe that occasion if it is important to them and their religion. Maybe trying to include language around that so folks understand that we're not trying to take away an opportunity for them to observe their holy day. I'm going to continue with the comments here, and we're going to kind of come back together as a group to kind of figure out next steps. So Lisa, your hand is up.
I just want to piggyback on what Drexel just said. If this, I guess I'm confused as to why, if this was made a federal holiday within this last year, why the university system is not treating it as a federal holiday since we are a state institution. I don't understand why we're not following that federal holiday, but the university is choosing to follow all other federal holidays. So I think that that's a conversation that needs to be had with the university system as to why that this holiday is being treated differently than all the other holidays are.
Katie, I have an answer to that. That is an answer to that directly.
Go ahead.
So pardon the interruption. Federal holidays are federal holidays, and they apply to federal agencies. They do not apply to state agencies. Like Columbus Day, President's Day, Veterans Day. Those are federal holidays. Those are not state recognized holidays. So we don't get those off. The ones we get off are the ones that are recognized by the state. So whether they could create 35 more federal holidays, that does not mean as a state agency, you get those days off. It is not until they are recognized as state holidays that you would get those days off. So that's why them making it a federal holiday had no bearing on us getting that day off.
Okay, thank you.
Great point. I also want to, sorry, Jacob, I'm going to step in here, and I wanted to provide some other context. We did kind of bring this up at staff assembly and kind of got some perspectives of other UNC system schools. And I do know for a fact that NC State did switch out one of their holidays, and I don't know if it was Good Friday or not. And they made Juneteenth one of their 12 holidays that folks get off. And I don't think they get Good Friday off. But I don't know for a fact that it was swapped for Juneteenth specifically. Students still get Good Friday off at NC State, and it's still celebrated and is a day off and no classes on campus, but it is not a paid holiday of their 12 that they selected. So that's just some context of other similarly situated UNC system schools. So just wanted to provide that context for those who are on staff assembly as well. Jacob.
I guess my main thought is I think we've kind of fallen in kind of a traditional trap that staff tend to at UNC, which is, since we generally have to come up with a solution to the problem, we've come up with a solution that we're suggesting, as opposed to, I think at this point, this would be better serving if it was just kind of making our point known and that we want change, and then let the people who have those lovely six-figure salaries actually figure out how to solve the problem. I think we've taken too much on ourselves to solve the problem. And I think that's resulting in us getting in a weird spot. We're having to make difficult choices that we don't have the authority to make. So I think we're advising people to make a decision that we're going to have difficulty getting consensus on. So I think the real issue is we've kind of got three separate issues happening here, and we're trying to, and they're unintentionally getting conflated because they're so similar. I think we should probably bring up to the personal issue, the personal observance issue, and other holidays on other religious observations that we might need to expand our personal observance leave in those regards. But if I recall, a lot of this started because, since it isn't a university holiday, some folks still will have to come in, particularly our housekeepers, our grounds crew, our facilities workers, our maintenance workers, folks that are in a position where they can't take that day off because they have to come in. So the hope was to get it recognized as a university holiday so that people would not have to work it if they wanted to, as opposed to having to use up one of their personal observation days. And sometimes that can still, because it's a request, can be denied based on, mandatory status. So I get that it's a complicated issue, and I do think that maybe we went a little too far down the road trying to have an answer. And I think we should have pulled back a little bit and made it more of a request or to call attention to the problem.
Great. Thanks, Jacob. James?
Yes, I don't have much to say about this, but I look at it, I'm a Christian, all right? And I thank God for Good Friday being recognized. But however, other religions are not recognized. Okay. That's why you can still use your personal observance day if you would like to take Good Friday off. What is it so important? Why is it so important that Good Friday is taken off, but no other religion is taken off? They get a holiday for it. Yes, I brought this forward because of what was happening in housekeeping. Housekeepers they were not letting them take off. And then they were trying to, because people wanted to take off, they wanted to give them counseling letters if they didn't come to work. That's not fair. If this is a federal holiday, which is going to go through the same thing like the Martin Luther King holiday went through with this state, our politicians are going to hold back as long as they can. So the university can do something as far as putting Juneteenth as a holiday on our campus. This campus was pretty much built by slaves, okay? And our housekeeping department, if you look at the history, they were really treated bad. So I believe that this should be changed. We should be recognized Juneteenth. So That's all I have to say.
Thank you, James. Matthew? Oh, you're muted, Matthew.
I wanted to say something about how the spring holiday has always been a name to obfuscate that it is a religious holiday. When I came here originally, I came from a Catholic university. We obviously got Good Friday off, and it was called Good Friday. The fact that there was a spring holiday that moved around the calendar to directly coincide with Good Friday has always felt wrong to me. It's always felt like a deliberate way to get around having an overtly religious holiday for the university. So that part of it has always, felt wrong for me, especially since it moved around just exactly with Good Friday. And so I think, if they want to have a spring holiday, it can be a set day every year, because I think there would be pushback about getting rid of a day off for kind of students at that point of the year. But the whole moving it around to follow a very specific Christian religious holiday has never set right with me.
Great, thank you, Matthew. Joe? Joe Ormond? If you're talking, Joe, you're muted.
Sorry.
You're
What I was saying was, just for clarity, holidays like Indigenous Peoples Day or Columbus Day, if you want to call it that, and Veterans Day are recognized. They're just part of the holiday week that we get off in December. They move those days. As far as recognizing Juneteenth, my suggestion would be to take out the spring holiday and just Juneteenth could be recognized rather than any of those other days as easily as the spring holiday. That's all I've got.
Do you want to make that a motion to amend?
Sure.
Do I have a second?
I second that.
Second.
Can you repeat the motion?
Yes.
It would be rather than suggest removing spring holiday, to remove another day that of like the holidays that we get. We recognize all the holidays. It's just that some of them are recognized during the winter break.
Okay, so are you just suggesting we leave it kind of?
I'm suggesting we leave it up to the people who are actually going to make the decision, because we're pigeonholing them by saying spring holiday itself. I mean, really what it should be is we should get a 13th holiday, but as Keith said, that's not up to us. It's not up to the university.
Okay, so some folks put in the chat some potential language. We would amend number 1 under the be it resolved section to say use all authority and flexibility the university has under North Carolina law, administrative code, and policy to recognize Juneteenth as an official university holiday in lieu of an existing holiday. Is that in line with your motion, Joe?
Yes, it is. But I just had another thought too. The university grants, what am I thinking? Hold on. The thought disappeared. So the university gives us like mental health days occasionally, right? And they definitely give them to the students. So is there any way to line that up with this?
Sorry, I missed that. Can you say again?
He's talking about wellness days. I mean,
Okay.
like wherever they move the holiday from, if it's a day when students are in session, they could very well put a wellness day on that day. And it would be sort of like NC State. Staff works, students still have that day off. Whereas NC State on Good Friday, their students have that day off, but staff works. That could be one of those built-in wellness days. I think that's kind of what Joe is getting at.
Right. That's it. Thanks, Keith.
Okay, so what would the amended language be under your motion?
So the one you read, I think, is fine, but I think we also add another line that somehow says consider using a wellness day for whoever needs it for one of those days, whatever day they were to take away.
Okay, and consider replacing the existing holiday, or can somebody put something in the chat around language for a second line so that we can read out the motion as a whole in its entirety and get a second on it?
Katie, just to clarify, are we wanting to mention wellness days, or are we wanting to rephrase it to encourage individuals to use a personal observance day? I just want to make sure I'm understanding.
No, I think what Joe is saying is, instead of strictly saying do this in lieu of the spring holiday, let the authorities that make the calendar, which we should petition that someone from Employee Forum be on the calendar making committee, but that is a completely different answer. He is saying, why not just say in lieu of an already existing one of the 12 days, whichever one you all choose, let one of the days be Juneteenth, and you all figure out where the rest of the 11 go accordingly, is what he's saying. He's saying, don't just specifically and strictly make it about spring holiday. Say it can replace whatever holiday you all deem.
Right, we got that
Also-
part, I think, Keith, but I think that we're trying to capture the wording of his second request that a wellness day be used as a way to mitigate taking away the existing holiday that Juneteenth would replace.
Correct.
But a wellness day only applies to students. It doesn't really impact
Right.
staff. That's why I'm wondering if we're.
No, yeah, that's what he's saying. Like, so the student, because staff is only going to get the 12 days. That's all you're getting. That's all you're getting, plain and simple. You're not getting any more. You get your personal observance leave, you take it wherever you want to. But if we take away, like, say it is deemed the spring holiday, they could very well say that, okay, we're taking away the spring holiday for everyone, students are in session. So as Joe's saying, as opposed to doing that, make sure that we put a wellness day in that place so the students still get that day. Staff, you're only going to get the 12 days for the year, regardless of where they put them.
Okay, I put a possible wording in the chat.
I got it, Rebecca. I'm gonna put the full motion on the floor under in the chat in just a second. Let me finish typing it out. While I do, Stephanie, you have your hand up. Comments from Stephanie while I type this motion out.
Someone, you might have already answered this, and this is just more of an educational thing for me, but is there somewhere that says we have to have a certain number of holidays in the spring versus fall versus winter?
No.
I know. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
And I believe the university has changed wellness days to be called well-being days in the student vernacular. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure that change took place this year.
Okay, I just typed out the motion on the floor. Joe, is this in line with what you were moving?
Basically, that's it.
Okay. I have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
A second.
Okay. Any discussion on the motion on the floor? Hearing none. Wait,
One point.
Keith or James?
I have
Well,
something.
anything that I was, anything that I was gonna say, it may be replaced by this anyway. Because mine was based around the spring holiday. My comments were gonna be based around spring holiday, Good Friday, which basically, I really don't care where the days are. If I had my choice, I would have the days be, I would have my days be during the winter break when we have to use those required, you have to use vacation leave days. I would have them make that a holiday so I don't have to use any leave there. But I think with this whole spring holiday being good, it being Good Friday and not being Good Friday, first of all, I am Black, if you haven't seen. I am Christian, been one my whole life. But the thing is, I really don't care. But I do recognize that everything that you have to make a choice on is built around the white majority and the Christian majority. So, I mean, I'm fine with it staying spring holiday being what is replaced, because I know that in every other instance, like, if you're Jewish, you have to make a choice. Am I going to go to work or am I going to use my personal leave? For Juneteenth, I'm Black. Am I going to go to work or am I going to use my, it is not a consistent thing across the board of where, like, if you are a member of the white majority or the Christian majority, you don't have to make that choice. It's just there. It's a given. You get those days because a system has been built to where you are, your needs and requests are typically always met without even having to ask. So if it ends up being the spring holiday, as a Christian, I'm good with it. Me and Jesus, we're cool. He's good. But that's just where I am. It is always the minoritized people that have to make a choice. And I'm not trying to take a day from anyone. I would love for us to have 16 holidays off, but we don't have the authority to do that. But why is it always non-Christians, non-whites that have to make a choice, that have to sacrifice one thing for the other?
Okay, thanks for that, Keith. I just want to make sure that the discussion we're having is focused around the motion that's on the floor. And if you have comments about the document as a whole, as opposed to the motion to amend, that we hold that when we get back to the full document. So any further discussion on the motion on the floor to amend number 1 under be it resolved?
I would like to.
Did you call me?
Yes.
Yes, I just wanted to point out that since we are making, I mean, if we do make a change, that we will need to run this back by the Carolina Block Caucus.
And we definitely would do that. We would say, well, this is the version we passed. Would you like to co-sign? So we might take out the section at the end around co-signed until they do co-sign. James, did you have a comment on the amendment?
Yes, I wanted to know, okay, this wellness day you're talking about putting in replacement, right? Am I understanding this right? You're trying to put a wellness day in.
That was the suggestion, so as to mitigate, you know, taking away another holiday. And again, it's not necessarily going to be Good Friday or spring holiday.
But the wellness day would just be for students.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because we do not have the authority as the university to grant staff a 13th holiday.
And see, the only thing about that is, if that's the day if that's what you're going to do, we're going to be right back to the same place we were in the beginning, because they're not going to allow this staff to take off. Okay.
No. But the day that you get off would be Juneteenth. You're only going to get the 12 days. This is saying that one of those days is going to be Juneteenth. You'll get the other 11 whenever they decide to put them. Now, if they take it from spring holiday, you're still, if they take it from spring holiday either way, you're still going to have to work. But we're doing this to ensure that they don't take it and they don't take that away from the students.
Okay, I would like to offer a friendly amendment. Can I offer amendments to things as chair, or do I need to not be the person offering amendments? Parliamentarian, help me here.
I mean, friendly amendments, as long as it's like in the spirit of it, is still kind of part of it. Although at this point, we're not doing an amendment to an amendment, but yeah.
Right. I would like to amend Joe's motion, a friendly amendment to Joe's motion to add a line stating after become a well-being day for students and allow staff or employees, rather, I should say employees, to utilize personal observance leave if they so choose for the day that's replaced or something along those lines. So it covers both of the kind of pools of people this is going to affect by taking away a different holiday. Again, not necessarily Good Friday, spring holiday, but it allows a course of action for both students and employees to recognize that there are alternatives to that holiday being replaced.
I second.
Okay, so the amended full motion, Joe, do you accept that friendly amendment? Because friendly amendment, I think, just has to be accepted by the person that made the original motion.
Yeah, and that's not a problem. I think that makes sense.
All right, I'm putting the new motion on the floor is, thank you, Rebecca, for being clutch and adding this language here.
Thank you for letting me use my lawyer brain.
Yeah, I appreciate you. Okay, I just put the new motion on the floor here. We have a motion on the floor. Give folks time to read through it and understand what the motion is. Do I hear a second for this motion?
I second.
Okay. Any discussion on the motion on the floor to amend section 1 of the be it resolved? Hearing none. All in favor of the motion on the floor to amend section number 1 under be it resolved with the language.
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstaining?
Abstain.
3 signs of yeast issues.
Abstain.
Abstain.
Can those that abstained please put their names in the chat so that Matt can record? Because some of y'all spoke at the same time, so I wasn't sure exactly who was speaking. James Holman abstained.
I have James Holman, Lisa Peterson, and Julie Thurl as our abstainers.
We've
Are
got
there any others?
Stephanie Morales, Matthew Teal, Lisa Peterson, James Holman, Randall Borer, and Julie Thoreau. And Drexel Rivers.
Okay,
With that many abstentions, parliamentarian, do we have a quorum? Do we have, what's the result of the vote?
I mean, it's still, I mean, you'd have to have 30 abstentions.
Okay.
Because we've got 60 out of the full body, so I mean. And again, on an amendment, yeah, so I think as long as.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
I
the
think if we
motion,
broke 15, we'd be in trouble, but I think with just 10.
right, the motion to amend is passed, and I'm gonna put the updated language in the body of the resolution. Just give me 2 seconds to do that. And I'm gonna put track changes on really quick, so that Carolina Black Caucus folks can see where the change was made. Okay. I think I've got the updated language in there, and I realize we're coming to time. Please, if folks can stay on maybe an additional 10 minutes so we can work through the rest of our agenda. I think we can do it fairly quickly. That would be great. We're back to the original motion on the floor to consider resolution 23-02 as amended. Is there any further discussion on the resolution as written? Hearing no further discussion, do I hear a motion to approve? Or I'm going to call the question here. We're going to move to a vote. All in favor of approving resolution 23-02 regarding designating Juneteenth as an official university holiday? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstaining? Okay. With that said, I believe the motion passes and the resolution passes. Am I correct, parliamentarian? Okay,
Yeah, I was also just double checking. Our bylaws stipulate a 1/3 of the members for a quorum. So yeah, we're well within that.
okay. All right, folks. Well, we will be sure to send out this resolution to the Chancellor and others for their perusal, and we will post it on the website as well. We will also touch back with Carolina Black Caucus with the newly revised language and ask if they want to co-sign. And if that happens, we'll update our website with the co-signed version. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And again, really quickly, if folks have time to stay on, please do. I'm going to just quickly go through the new business on our agenda. Recently at the executive committee meeting, the executive committee passed a proclamation 23-02 concerning International Housekeepers Week. Given the timeliness of it, we felt it was important to pass that particular proclamation by the executive committee so that it could be read out at the celebration for International Housekeepers Week. Each of the 3 shifts had a celebration at Chase Dining Hall. God, was that last week? Maybe the week before. I think it was last week. I can't remember exactly when it was. I don't know what day it is. So I wanted to bring that kind of proclamation from the executive committee to this body and potentially ratify it from the full body, just to kind of add kind of the weight of the full body approving this proclamation. With that said, I'm going to share my screen really quickly with the proclamation in question, and then ask if there's a motion on the floor to take up this ratification, this proclamation. So let me share my screen. Proclamation, share. And I'm just going to throw out here before the motion that this section here, ratified by employee forum full body on October 4th, 2023, is pending this ratification vote. So with all of that said, I'm going to just kind of leave it up here for y'all to kind of read through really quickly. Again, this is just a ratification. This has already been passed by the executive committee and doesn't necessarily need to be ratified by us, but I wanted to bring it to this body to give y'all a chance to also ratify it. So do I hear a motion to consider ratification of proclamation 23-02 concerning International Housekeepers Week?
So moved.
I so move.
All
I'll
right, any discussion on the motion on the floor to ratify proclamation 23-02 passed by the executive committee of the employee forum? Hearing no discussion. I'm going to call the question and move to a vote. All in favor of ratifying Proclamation 23-02 concerning International Housekeepers Week?
Aye.
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 Any opposed?
Sorry, Katie, this is Teresa. I couldn't get off mute fast enough to say aye on agreeing.
No worries, no worries. Any opposed? Any abstaining? All right, Proclamation 23-02 has been ratified by the Employee Forum full body, and we will post said language on the website. The proclamation has already been sent to the Chancellor's office, but we'll make sure that the ratified version of the language is added to the website. Thank you all for that. So stop sharing my screen. Matt, I'll send you that language after the meeting for your reference. And then final updates. We didn't have time to do this now, so I'm going to do it via email after. In the update email I usually send out, we do need to recruit some employee forum liaisons for the faculty council committees that traditionally have employee forum representatives and liaisons serving on them. Those two committees are the Committee on the Status of Women and the Faculty Welfare Committee. They're linked in the agenda if you're curious about what those committees are. For a bit of context, the Faculty Welfare Committee, which I had never heard of, didn't know what it was, is very similar to our Personnel Issues Committee. So the faculty take up personnel issues related to faculty, and it's good that they want to have a staff member and usually have a staff member that sits on that committee and kind of contribute thoughts and kind of be that liaison and kind of voice on their committee. So if you have any interest, and again, I'm going to make this call via email afterwards, if you have any interest in serving as the liaison for one of these two groups, we'll get some names together, and potentially at the executive committee meeting in a couple weeks, we will, if we have multiple folks for each one, we can take a vote on who will be the liaison for each of these two groups. So again, pay attention to the email after the meeting. And if you have interest, please let us know. Announcements. National emergency test this afternoon at 2:20. You will get an alert on your phone, so don't be alarmed. I know that that might be a little triggering for folks given the recent security incidents we've all been through, but national emergency test, just be aware that's happening this afternoon at 2:20. Flu and COVID shots are available at the Student Stores Pharmacy. The email went out from campus, I think earlier this week on that front. So make sure you're taking advantage of that if you so choose. There's also several other flu shot clinics that happen throughout campus. We included information on those flu clinics in our recent In Touch. Make sure y'all are protected as we enter respiratory, illness season. Fall is upon us. Okay, Vice Chancellor Representatives meeting is coming up Thursday, November 9th from 2 to 3 p.m. via Zoom. As always, Matt will send out a Qualtrics requesting questions for submittal later this month. So be on the lookout for that. University Day coming up October 12th. Starts at 11 a.m., but 10:30 a.m. is when the processional lines up by the Old Well. So encourage y'all to come out with your departments or with your staff and take advantage of that day and a little bit of time off to celebrate the university's 230th birthday. And again, I will be on stage, as Christi mentioned, awarding this year's Rebecca Clark Award to Robin Lee, who is a very deserving staff member in the housekeeping department here at UNC. So I would encourage you all as employee forum delegates to be there to help us celebrate Robin's award and congratulate her on that achievement. So encourage y'all to attend that. Employee Appreciation Day has been talked about a lot. It's on October 20th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Matt Banks, did we need any further volunteers for our table?
I need a few more, but I will send out an email.
Okay, so be on the lookout for Matt Banks's email, and if you have the ability to come volunteer at the employee forum table, we always have a good time. Make sure y'all come out and join us on the 20th. And then I think we're having our scavenger hunt for the employee forum. I think Joe and or Shane, any?
We're working on it.
Okay, I think that's happening. So I know that that's usually a big excitement and draw. Okay, last thing on new business or on announcements and questions is it takes a village. We'll just maybe take 2 minutes. If anybody wants to unmute themselves and kind of share any highlights, kudos that you have for colleagues, folks on the employee forum, anyone on campus, we want to hear, some positive things to close out our meeting and recognize all of our amazing staff on campus. Feel free to raise your hand or unmute yourself.
Big thank you to all of those who helped and volunteered at the golf tournament. We had a really good time. Those of you who could not make it, Annette, I'm looking at you. Hope your mother's doing well, but we did miss you. But we'll get back out there next year. So thank you to all of those who did volunteer.
And thank you to Keith for putting together our volunteer effort and for advocating strongly with the powers that be to make sure that our whole was well represented. So kudos and thank you to you, Keith.
Thank you to the facilities folks who moved 48 boxes out of my closet this morning. I've been trying to get rid of those since March of 2020.
Oh my goodness.
But they had to have somewhere to go.
Logistics, gotta love it.
I want to give a shout out, a big thank you to Jacob Womack from the when we had our retreat for his help and encouragement and helping me overcome some fears and obstacles. He was a great assistance there. So thank you very much, Jacob.
And David, thank you so much for being willing to step out of your comfort zone and kind of, dive off that zip line with us. I know it was tough, but
Yeah, a
you
lot of
did such a
that
great
credit goes
job.
to David for taking that leap of faith, but also the other David for not only being a supportive instructor, but also having a staff of people that are really good at encouraging and supporting people.
Yes, very much so. Kudos to the whole Outdoor Education Center team for doing great work. Okay, folks, I realize I kept you well past time again today. I was thinking this meeting wasn't going to go over and we had a very manageable agenda, but alas, we had great discussion. So I appreciate y'all's willingness to stay on a little later. We got some really great work done today. I really appreciate all of your thoughts and candor on a tough issue and one that is very kind of thorny to work through. But I think that we're doing our best that we can to advocate for staff on campus and to make sure that we have a friendly and equitable and welcoming community for all staff here at Carolina. So hopefully this goes part of the way towards accomplishing that goal. So thank you all for all of your work and effort. Thank you especially to Leah and the Personnel Issues Committee for your work in pulling together the resolution and getting us to this point. So if there's not anything else, thank you all for your dedication and efforts on the employee forum. We couldn't do any of this work without each and every one of you. I always say that this is such a huge group effort that I just want to make sure that y'all are understand how much I appreciate each and every one of y'all and the work you put in. So thank you. And we'll see each other again soon at University Day, at Employee Appreciation, at Executive Committee, really just anytime. Looking forward to seeing y'all again.
We
soon.
appreciate you, Katie. Thank you.
Thanks, folks.
We're all tired. Employee
Oh.
Appreciation Day is coming at just the right time.
Anybody want to be employee forum chair? I'm gonna make that be my closing statement of every single employee forum meeting from here into.
I'll be your footrest or your ottoman or your coffee table.
Putting the call out for future leaders who want to take up this mantle. Hit me up. Let me know. Arlene knows. I already asked her this week. I'm gonna ask anybody and everybody. So be aware. Thanks, folks.
Bye, y'all. Have a
We
good one.
appreciate y'all. Matt, I'm gonna get you some information after this. I'll try and put together an email this afternoon to close out everything from today. Yeah, pending Jessica's email with updates.
Sounds good. Good work. It's a good discussion.
Great discussion as always. Yes.
Thanks, Katie.
Thanks, Keith. I appreciate you.
I know. I appreciate you because I got a little bit messy there for a second.
It's good, Keith. It's good to get that view in.
I love it. I love the enthusiasm. I was just like, wait a minute. We got to explain some stuff. Like, you get like, legally, we can't go in here and be like, oh, we just added 13 days. The state would be like, no, you just stole a whole bunch of money from us. So now,
Yeah, no, that's the hard thing about the parliamentarian role is having, like, I can't fundamentally change one that comes to me for like touching up. I'm like, I can put it in the right format, but I'm not allowed to really change what you're trying to get done, even though I see lots of problems.
Yeah, I will
So
say.
it's always an awkward moment in the room. I think you guys actually handled it really well. I want to give you all a lot of credit because that was a tough one. I think you'll do a good job with it.
Yes, thanks, David. I had to brush up on my parliamentary skills for this meeting for sure. That was, it's like stretching a muscle that we don't use very often. So that was always fun.
Hold on.
Thanks.
all right, y'all have a good one.
Thanks,
As
folks.
well.
That'll be good.
Hey, everybody.
In about a minute, I'm going to shut down the meeting for those of you still lingering on.
Let me know if you need anything, Matt. Okay.
I certainly will.
Thanks.
Hey, Katie.
Yes. Hi. Hi, Linda.
I just wanted to say I love your hair.
Thank you.
It looked really great. I noticed it right at the onset of the meeting,
Yes.
but
I
didn't
got
seem
a bunch of
appropriate to
texts
comment.
at the start of the meeting. I was like, stop looking at me. No. But yeah,
No, your hair looks great. I love it.
new hair for the fall, new season, new hair. I like
It
it.
looks aces.
Thank you.
Have a good day, everyone. Thanks for a
You
great
too.
meeting.
Bye.
Okay, I'm going to shut down in about 30 seconds or so. Thank you. Once again, hope all have a good day. Take care.